Hey guys, it's Jay. Welcome back to my channel, where we discuss the popular culture of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think all of us remember the Disney classic Pinocchio, which was made back in 1940. But did you remember that there was another Pinocchio on television called The New Adventures of Pinocchio, which aired sometime in the 1960s? Let's take a look.
Here's Pinocchio, what a happy lad since the day he lost his strings. He can walk and talk and fly.
Do anything I try.
He can dance, sing a tune, play a flute.
Do anything I try.
But never, 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 ever should he ever tell a lie.
The New Adventures of Pinocchio was created by Rankin and Bass. It used their AniMagic style, which was a combination of stop-motion animation and puppetry. This was well before the time that they created their magical adventures of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and their holiday classics, which would air every year around Christmas time. The New Adventures of Pinocchio was the first of many successful programs produced by Videocraft International, Arthur Rankin Jr.'s first company. I remember watching The New Adventures of Pinocchio as a kid. They aired on Global TV, usually around 7 or 8 o'clock, just when you were getting ready for school. They really incorporated a very popular style of stop-motion animation, which was prevalent in the 1960s and 1970s. I remember vividly these cartoons, as they sort of reminded me of Coral Gol, which I covered in one of my last reviews. Pinocchio himself is a young lad, and as the original story states, he was brought to life by his father, Geppetto. Geppetto is actually the narrator of the entire tale, and recounts a lot of Pinocchio's adventures. Pinocchio is accompanied on these adventures by Cricket. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit interesting how Pinocchio just happens to have this sidekick who's a cricket. You can really see the sort of looming litigation happening here. But I guess back in the 1960s, it was so ambiguous in terms of the way Rankin and Bass had named the character, and I guess at the time, Disney just let it slide. Who knows? Pinocchio, who becomes tired of becoming a wooden boy, decides to go on his adventures with Cricket to find the Blue Fairy, in hopes of becoming a real boy. In other words, he wishes to become human. As he goes along in these merry adventures, he gets into a myriad of different situations, let's say.
Gee, this looks just like a real bank. What a lot of money. Oh, well.
Very good for a start, my boy.
The reality is that in every episode, which I found very, very amusing as a child, Pinocchio has to lie in order to help his friends out. This was pretty much the crux of the entire series, in which in almost every single episode, well, probably out of the 5 episodes in the half an hour, in at least 1 or 2 of the episodes, Pinocchio has to lie in order to get himself and his friends out of sticky situations. As a kid, this is one of those things which is really perplexing, because you were always told as a child never to lie. So here we have a cartoon series which is encouraging lying. And of course, we have a conscience in the form of Cricket, who basically keeps scolding Pinocchio. But every single time Pinocchio lies, it's a helpful situation. So you as a child are kind of perplexed. It's like, do I lie or do I not lie?
I got it. Look, Pin. Think of the biggest lie in the world, then keep on thinking it.
What, if I do that, my nose will start to grow again.
Exactly. And if you can make it grow high enough, I'll be able to climb out of there.
Well, okay, here goes.
The series itself is actually very charming. The stories themselves were very simple, self-contained, 5-minute chapters. And the presentation was actually very well done. I really did enjoy the adventures that Pinocchio and Cricket got into. And the fact that Cricket would always keep Pinocchio on his toes in terms of how many times he did lie, and always reminded him that this is not a good thing, sort of was a reminder to me as a child that I should not be lying. Although, sometimes it gets me out of sticky situations. Two of the first interesting characters that Pinocchio and Cricket meet, named Foxy Q Fibble and Cool S Cat. These two particular characters are a constant thorn in Pinocchio and Cricket's side. They're more of the ongoing characters who continue to show up in the series to give them a little bit of trouble.
Pinocchio, my lad, your big chance has come at last. Millions will see you rush into a burning building and rescue Dolly Darling from the flames.
Burning building? Now, just a minute there. Pinocchio's made of wood. And if you said...
Now, this is your chance to be rich. This job pays $2 whole.
$2? Just for rescuing Dolly Darling? Wow!
They do serve a very interesting purpose though, where they are characters that remind children like myself at the time that doing bad deeds also have their consequences. They also serve to remind Pinocchio that lying, even though it can get you out of sticky situations, are also some things that you shouldn't really do. Which is always a good reason why Cricket is always around to teach Pinocchio that little tiny fact.
All right, Pinocchio, you get up there and steer. You can't steer, can't you?
Why, yes, of course I can. I'm an old hand at this sort of thing.
Oh, you're an old hand at it. Well, that's what you get for lying. Your nose grows.
The New Adventures of Pinocchio was voiced by a wonderful cast, including Stan Francis as Geppetto, Larry Mann as Foxy Q Fibble, Paul Kilgman as Cool S Cat, Carl Banass as Cricket. Rounding out the cast were Claude Ray, Joan Flower, and John Mather. The New Adventures of Pinocchio was a wonderful stop-motion animation. It's one of those first jumping points where Rankin and Bass began their long and legendary career. And we would soon reap the benefits of their first introduction into television animation, as some of their new series would go on to be beloved by children all over the world. Well guys, that'll about do it for my look back at the New Adventures of Pinocchio. It really was a good example of the way 1960s animation was perceived back then on television. Sort of 5-minute little shorts which captured children's attentions for a short time. I remember it being one of my favorite times in the morning, getting up and just watching Pinocchio and Cricket get into all sorts of trouble. Well guys, that'll about do it for my look back at the New Adventures of Pinocchio. If you enjoyed this episode, please do leave me a like. It really helps me out, since YouTube wants to know if my channel is growing. If you have any comments or suggestions on anime, cartoons, toys, or anything else you'd like me to review, please leave that in the comment section below. And please consider subscribing, as once again, it really does help YouTube to know that my channel is growing and that you guys appreciate my work. Well guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. Geek proud. Check out some of the other episodes I've done. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter.